Heughan took Dakota Johnson to meet with his father to prepare for their wedding. The afternoon sun poured through the ancient trees lining the driveway of Lochranza Castle, a historic part of the cold but poetic land of Scotland. The air was just warm enough, the sea breeze carrying the scent of moss, mixed with the scent of fresh grass and damp earth after rain. Heughan put his hands on the wheel, glancing at the woman sitting next to him, Dakota Johnson, with eyes full of love. Dakota said nothing, but her eyes were filled with excitement. Not because she was afraid. Dakota was a strong, experienced person, with a name associated with art films, but she understood the importance of this meeting. This was more than just meeting her lover's father. This was the beginning of a new chapter, a wedding that was being planned meticulously down to the last detail. "Are you okay?" Sam asked softly, his right hand squeezing hers. Dakota nodded, trying to smile. "It's just, the first time I met the father you always talked about with such respect. I didn't want to disappoint him." Sam smiled softly, his eyes as gentle as the afternoons he often told her stories. "You're the first person to make me think about marriage. Trust me, he'll see that." The car quietly turned into the grey stone courtyard of the castle. Under the sunset, the moss-covered stone walls of Lochranza seemed to glow. In front of the door, a tall, elderly man stood, wearing a thick ash-colored sweater, his hands in his pockets. "That's my father, Malcolm Heughan," Sam whispered, then stepped out of the car, walked around to open the door for Dakota. She took a deep breath, stepped out, feeling her high heels lightly touch the cold stone floor. Sam took her hand, and together they walked in front of the man. "Dad, this is Dakota Johnson," Sam said, his voice full of pride. Malcolm looked at the young woman in front of him. His eyes were sharp but not cold, as if he was reading an entire book in one glance. Dakota bowed slightly. "Hello, sir. Nice to meet you." Malcolm nodded, his eyes unable to hide his curiosity. "Hello, son. Finally, this son is willing to bring someone home." Dakota smiled, feeling the atmosphere lighten a bit. "Come in. It's getting cold," Malcolm said, turning and walking through the dark wooden door. The parlor of Lochranza Castle was a traditional Scottish affair. High oak ceilings, family portraits along the walls, a stone fireplace smoldering, giving off a familiar smoky scent. A collection of vintage whiskies sat quietly in a glass cabinet against the wall, like witnesses to generations gone by. Malcolm sat in an armchair near the fireplace, motioning for the two of them to sit on the sofa opposite. Sam gently pulled Dakota down beside him. For a few seconds, the only sounds were the crackling of the wood and the ticking of the wall clock. "Dakota," Malcolm said, his eyes fixed on the table, "you work in the film industry. I know that, but are you really ready to be part of this family?" The question was not harsh, but it carried weight. Dakota sighed softly, and said, "Yes, sir. I know the Heughan family has a long tradition, and I respect that. Sam has told me a lot about you, and I have a vision of what I am about to enter. Not just a wedding, but a new life." Malcolm nodded. He turned to Sam. "You said you didn't like commitment." Sam smiled, his eyes on Dakota, then back. "I used to think so, until I met a woman I didn't want to leave even for a day." Malcolm put his hands on his knees, leaning back slightly. "I won't stop her, but before she comes into this house, I need to know, do you two really understand each other? Have you ever argued?" Dakota smiled. "We disagreed at times, like all couples do. But the important thing is that after that, we learn to listen and come closer together." Malcolm frowned slightly, but seemed satisfied. "Good, because a marriage is not just a wedding, flowers and dresses. It is early mornings when the other person is still angry, it is evenings when you don't say a word to each other. You have to choose someone who, even when you are angry, you still can't imagine leaving them. Sam squeezed Dakota's hand. I have chosen, Mr. Malcolm stood up and walked to the liquor cabinet. 18-year-old whiskey, for really special occasions. Today, I will pour 3 glasses. Dakota chuckled. Do you believe I have passed the test? Malcolm turned his head, his eyes filled with a rare mischievousness. I passed with my heart. The rest is just formality. He poured the wine into 3 antique crystal glasses, handing each person a glass. As the 3 of them clinked the glasses, he said, for Sam. For Dakota. And for what really matters. Not fame, not tradition, but faith. The 3 glasses clinked lightly, the sound echoing in the cozy space like an unspoken promise. The next morning, the atmosphere in Lochranza Castle was more bustling. The early autumn sunlight filtered through the thick, misty glass, creating a dreamy picture in the great hall. Sam, in a thin beige sweater, was fiddling with a cup of coffee, while Dakota sat at the long table, a cream-colored notebook filled with tiny handwriting. Should we make the main color gray-blue? Dakota asked, running a hand through her hair. I think it suits the classic style of the castle, and also suits you. Sam raised an eyebrow. Dark gray-blue? I thought you wanted a light pink for a cinematic feel? That was the original idea. She smiled, but now I want something more Scottish. Malcolm appeared from the large wooden staircase, holding a stack of old papers. You might want to see your mother's wedding plans from back then. Dakota took the stack of papers as if they were treasures. The yellowed pages, handwritten in purple ink, detailed every detail, from the table setting, to the wine served, to the folk band brought down from Inverness. She planned more meticulously than a film director. Malcolm chuckled, his eyes softening as he spoke of his late wife. Dakota gently touched his hand. I wish I could meet her. She would have loved you. He whispered, then turned to Sam. Are you going to keep the sword exchange ritual at the wedding? Sam laughed. I was going to ask you about that. But I think, if you still have the family sword, we should do it. Dakota's eyes widened. Sword exchange? Sam explained, as if telling a legend. It's a traditional ceremony in the Heughan family. The father will hand over the ancestral sword to the groom, symbolizing the responsibility to protect the new family. Then the groom will give it to the bride as a promise to protect each other. Dakota smiled, her heart warming. Then, I want to keep that ceremony. Malcolm nodded. Good. I'll have the sword polished again. 2 weeks later, the atmosphere in the castle changed from quiet to bustling. Decorators, chefs, cellists, and traditional dancers arrived one after another. Malcolm, despite his advanced age, rolled up his sleeves to guide the construction of the wedding tent in the courtyard, where ancient willow trees cast shadows over the rippling surface of the lake. Dakota was busy trying on dresses with her mother, Melanie, who had flown in from California. 2 women with 2 contrasting styles, one classic Western, one modern American cinema, joined forces to choose an elegant wedding dress with lace trim inspired by traditional Highland dresses. The dress leaves Sam speechless during the first fitting. You look like you came out of a dream. Sam whispers. And you are that dream. Dakota replies, smiling brightly. Evening by the campfire. The night before the wedding, both families and close friends gather around a large fire behind the castle. Whiskey is passed around, folk songs are heard and violins are played. Sam suddenly stands up, picks up the wooden guitar he has carried throughout the filming trips, and walks in front of Dakota. I want you to hear the first song I wrote, for you. Everyone is silent. Sam began to strum the first chords of the song called, Over the Highland Heart, his voice deep and warm, sometimes cracking with emotion. From the top of the windy hill, you came like the first rays of winter. In the cold land, you are the fire. The lamp in my heart that burns forever. Dakota could not say anything. Her tears fell, silently, beautifully and truly like the love they had kept together.